Hey, this is Matt McLean, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to do assignment 2, the 30-second radio ad. And before you get started, make sure you have access to a microphone. That's why I set up practice assignment 2, so you could get some feedback. Not only editing some voiceover, but also recording it with your own mic. I, right now, am using the little Fifine lav mic that I recommended, a little clip-on mic here, and I just have it on my hoodie. And then in a few minutes you're going to hear me switch over to my better microphone. It's a large diaphragm condenser that is great for recording voiceover stuff, but it needs to be done in a really quiet environment, and I don't generally have access to that. You can see I'm recording here Saturday morning. They're probably going to start blowing leaves next door and doing, construction. And so if you see the timestamps on my videos where I use the large diaphragm condenser, it's usually late at night when everyone's gone to sleep. So these are really effective, and you can, with some EQ and some noise cleanup, they do definitely have some hiss, some self noise. You can make them sound pretty good too. So what I wanted to point out is the number one mistake that I hear on this assignment when people first starting to use a microphone are plosives. And plosives are when you say potato and pop, 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 and you talk right into the mic. And plosives are almost impossible to edit out. I'll show you a trick at the end of the video that can help if you maybe have one subtle one and you don't want to recut your audio, But the best thing to do is just re-record. Instead of wasting all your time trying to edit out a bad take, a lot of times you can just save a ton of time by just deleting what you recorded and doing it again. Move the mic over just a couple inches, that'll do it. You can say potato, pop, pop, pop. It's really close here, but you're not going to get plosives. So I'm going to clip this back on, and then you're going to hear me switch over to my good mic in just a sec. There's one more thing that we need to do, so I'll see you soon. Going to go away there, and that is get the Voiceover Scripts for the assignment. These are over here, and I put them in the module. So just to clarify, if you go to the modules here, make sure you're doing all the reading, and this one is down with the assignment 2, and it's the page listed as Voiceover Scripts. So go ahead and make sure you get that. Download the zip, and I've already done that here. And then the other thing that you want to do before you get started is create a project folder. So I'm going to go to new folder, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to use my last name, make sure you use your last name, and I'm going to call it assignment 2. Meant to. So here's my little folder. I put it down here, and I'm going to put everything into this folder here. This is my folder that has my videos and stuff. So this is how I want to say it. Your last name first, then assignment 2. So then you're going to go to Audacity, and I'm just going to hit record here for just a second. Make sure that it's recording. Check. And before you do anything here, I'm actually going to delete that. I'm going to save this as into that folder and call it the same thing, assignment 2. So here we go. This is McLean assignment 2. I'm going to put it in this folder and call it the same thing. And make sure it's an AUP3 at this point in this version of Audacity. It should be the only option here, yeah. And then I'm going to hit save. The project's empty, that's fine. It won't be for long. And then I'm just going to go in here and double check my folder to make sure that I did put it in the right spot. And then as I mentioned in the first practice assignment, if you see a temp file like that, that just means that Audacity is open. I think PCs will have 2 different temp files, but at the end of the project, and I'll get to this at the end of the video, you want to close Audacity, save it, close it, and the temp file should go away before you wrap up your project folder. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to get started on the good microphone and show you how to do this assignment. Hey, this is Matt McLean, and in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do assignment 2, which is the 30-second radio slot with voiceover and music and or sound effects. So the first thing we need to do is get into Audacity. And I have this set up so that my microphone is going into Audacity, and I'm going to change this to a mono input because it's just a single mic. And this way you won't just hear it in one ear. And I'm going to record here just to make sure it's working. Check, check. The next thing that you need to do is Voiceover Scripts. So go ahead and download those. And it's a zipped file. Download it and unzip it. And you'll see a bunch of different little files here. Pages doesn't like to read the .docs, but if you go into text edit, simple text, they'll read these no problem. So one way to do that is go into text edit. I'm just going to open something from here, and I'm going to do business. And there we go. I've zoomed in here so I can see it. I'm starting to go blind. But you got to pick one that's roughly 90 words. If you go slowly, this one would work. I'm going to do the AIG one just because it's kind of funny with a little bit of historical perspective. So the best thing to do here is just get into Audacity and start recording and forget that it's recording, because if you make a mistake, you can always go in and edit it later. Well, here we go. Hit record. And let's give this a go. AIG, the greatest risk is not taking one. They give up everything, their families, their friends, their homes, the villages they were born in. They arrived with only the clothes on their backs, vulnerable, scared, but brimming with hope and determined that a better life was within their grasp. Today, risk takers don't have to go after their dreams alone. They can rely on business. They can rely on a business partner to help them through the uncharted waters, an organization with unsurpassed insight into financial resources, one with the ability and flexibility to design specific solutions to help minimize risk for almost any business undertaking. So the next time you decide to venture into new territory for any idea you believe in, call AIG. We're best equipped to help you manage the uncertainties that go along with the pursuit of hopes and dreams. Okay, let's see how we did here. So you can see I went way over, but this is okay because we're going to chop this up and whittle it down and stuff it into a nice little package. So at this point, go and edit this as you did in assignment 1. So cut out all the silence and try to isolate words and phrases as much as possible. You'll notice that with my read-through, I did it pretty quickly. It's going to be hard to isolate single words, so you'll probably just have to capture phrases. Makes your work easier later. So a good read-through is kind of the trick to this. So, and let's give this a go. You're going to see some studio magic as I delete my editing, but I'm going to go in here now and chop this up. So the first thing that I'm going to do is save this. So I'm going to see if I can condense this into a 30-second clip. And I'm going to highlight this entire region, and I'm going to combine it. Into one region. And now I'm going to go into my magic tool here. And what this is going to do, change tempo, is going to change it from 39.2 seconds to exactly 30 seconds. And I'm going to hit OK. And let's give this a listen. AIG, the greatest risk is not taking one. They give up everything, their families, their friends, their homes, the villages they were born in. Okay, so you can hear me kind of screaming through it there, but you'll notice this is exactly 30 seconds long. And now I'm going to do a couple of other steps here that I hadn't done earlier, which is I'm going to normalize this. And because I'm in a pretty quiet environment, there isn't a lot of noise in the background. You could use noise removal, but what I'm going to do is compress, and not compress it into an MP3. I'm going to compress this using audio compression, and this is going to give it an more even take. And I'm going to go with the default threshold here and noise floor. The ratio I'm going to turn up a little bit to about, let's go to about 4:1. And I'm going to leave these other settings about the same. And I'm going to hit OK, which will process it. And you'll notice that the waveform over here will get bigger as most of it gets louder and some of it gets a little quieter. It'll look a little more uniform. There we go. And let's give this a quick listen. AIG, the greatest risk is not taking one. They give up everything, their families, their friends, their homes, the villages they were born in. Okay, so now what you can do is get in here and use an EQ. And this is one of the critical things. Compress first and then EQ next. So you'll notice that I have some sibilance in my voice, and I'm going to go in and try to take that out. You hear my s, my s's and s's somewhere between 5 and 10,000 hertz, 5 and 10 kilohertz. I'm going to analyze it first. And see if I can see a peak. It's kind of hard. Actually, you can see there are a couple of peaks right in here of 5, maybe around 7,000. I'm going to take something out around 7,000 using my EQ. Oops. Put a couple points in here, and I'm going to drop this notch right over here, 4, 5, 6, 7, right around in here. And this is about 6 decibels. That's probably more than enough. And I'm going to process it. And let's give it a listen. AIG, the greatest risk is not taking one. They give up everything, their families, their friends, their homes, the villages they were born in. Okay, that helped a little bit. You can go back and forth, undo it. You might want to experiment, even record some sibilance and see how you can cut it out. From here, the next thing to do is to add another track into it. What I'm going to do is drop in just a little piece of background music that I've pre-selected, and this here is probably going to be too loud with the audio. Let's give it a listen. AIG, the greatest risk is not taking one. They give up everything, their families, their friends, their homes, the village. So you can use this fader here to turn the gain down. Let's turn it way down. AIG, the greatest risk is not taking one. They give up everything, their families, their friends, their homes, the villages they were born in. They arrive with only the clothes on their backs, vulnerable, scared. They can rely on a business partner to help them through the uncharted waters, an organization with unsurpassed insight into financial resources. Okay, so there you go. You can do some further adjustments here using your envelope tool. And here I'm going to go back to the beginning of the song and zoom in a little bit. And I'm just going to create a little fade in the intro here. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And I'm just going to do this for the music so it fades out a little bit. Always make several little dots. That way you can adjust everything after the dot like this without changing the entire volume. And this is going to be pretty subtle, but it'll give it a nice touch. And we'll zoom out. And my advice would be to throw in some more sound effects, or you could skip the music and do just sound effects, but make it cool and try to make it pro. Let's give it a listen. AIG, the greatest risk is not taking one. They give up everything, their families, their friends, their homes, the villages they were born in. They arrive with only the clothes on their backs, vulnerable, scared. They can rely on a business partner to help them through the uncharted waters, an organization with unsurpassed insight into financial resources, one with the ability and flexibility to design specific solutions to help minimize risk for almost any business undertaking. So the next time you decide to venture into new territory for any idea you believe in, call AIG. We're best equipped to help you manage the uncertainties that go along with the pursuit of hopes and dreams. Yeah, you can hear it. There are a couple flubs and words there, but for the most part, we got our cool little 30-second ad, and the next thing you need to do is just export this and double check your work. So what I'm going to do is go to File and Export, and I'm just going to do this as a WAV file for starters here, and you can always use Audacity to export as an MP3 too. I just want to hear it at the highest quality, so I'm going to put it in the same spot here. and hit save, and then double check my work. Your tracks will be mixed down to 2 stereo channel tracks. That's great. That's what I want. And we'll go in here and let's preview it. AIG, the greatest risk is not taking one. They give up everything, their families, their friends. And it sounds great. So there's my little 30-second slot. It's about 5 megs for 30 seconds if it's a full WAV file. And if you compress it into an MP3 at a 192, it'll be roughly a tenth of that size. Have fun, and thanks for listening. Okay, so now I'm back over on this lav mic, and you'll notice that the sound quality is probably diminished substantially. But I want to show you a couple of additional tricks that you might be able to use. The first one is clinical EQ. I'm actually going to mute the music track and then go into my audio track. And I showed you how to use some EQ, a blanket EQ, to cut out some of the sibilants. You can also use a little bit more clinical EQ to cut out, sometimes you can cut out plosives. And also, if you only have a couple of words that have an annoying sibilance, you can use it to cut it out. And I found a little plosive in this track, and you can actually, I don't even have to listen to it. You can see it in here in the waveform, this sort of slow rolling thing. And I think it was on a T syllable. Let me listen to it really quick. To new territory for... Yeah, territory. So I don't want to get rid of the low end on the whole recording because it sounds nice and warm. But what I'm going to do is just swipe this little region and then hit Z to search for zero crossings. And then I'm going to go to a filter curve EQ. And I actually, looks like I was already in here doing this. It'll usually retain the last setting you had. You can always flatten it like that. The flatten button, but I'm going to put those little points back in. And I'm just going to roll off below 200 hertz. This is 9 decibels. That's pretty substantial. But again, it's not doing the whole track. It's just going to do that one syllable. And I'm going to hit OK. And you'll notice that the low frequency has gone away. You can use these undo and redo buttons to visually check it. Watch. So I'm going to undo it. You can see it's turned that low frequency down. And then I'm just going to do it again right here. The other T. Hit the Z button. And I'm going to go back to Effect. And filter curve EQ again. I've already got it set up. So once you get it set up, you can go through and sort of clinically fix things. And again, here I'll use my undo and redo so you can check that one out and see what it did to the waveform. And I'm going to zoom back out and listen to it. New territory for. So the first one sounded good. It looks like something may have happened to, I might have swiped too far into the other syllable here, and I can hear a little pop. So I'm going to undo that one. And let's just listen to it as is here. New territory for... that's much better. The only one that was really bugging me is the first T anyway. But you can do the same thing with high end if there's some sibilants. Oh, AIG. Let's see. Turn to new territory for any idea you believe in. Not there. So the next time you just... Yeah, some of these S's here. So the next time you... Next time... There's an S here. And then you can also use that Spectrogram View, and you can see it here on the waveform. This one has a ton of high frequency information that you could isolate and get rid of. So I'm going to go back to my waveform view and you search zero crossings, go back to Effect, and where's my filter EQ? And I'm going to flatten this, and this one I'm going to take out, since it's just this syllable, I'm going to take out a bunch of high frequency information. Hit OK. Ooh, and let's listen to that. So the next time you decide... Yeah, it's subtle. I can undo it, and you can watch right here where the cursor is. Undo. See, it was much louder. So sometimes you might have better results going through and clinically doing that. It's definitely time consuming, and it's a matter of the time is money. But if you're only doing a 30-second slot, that might be a more effective way than the blanket EQ. And again, this is one of the things that's relatively unique to Audacity, where you can just go in and clinically add an EQ. I really like this trick. Other DAWs are great because you can preview them in real time, preview the EQs in real time, but just another approach to think about. And then, so now that I've cleaned that up, I'm going to go back and I've got my two pieces of, gotta mute this, this is the original. Voiceover, and then you want to export your project. So you're going to go to export, and on this one I want two different exports. I want a WAV and an MP3. So I'm going to do the WAV first, and make sure that you double check your bit rate and that it's named correctly, and you want to be putting it into your assignment folder here. So I'm going to save that one. And double check my folder. I see the waveform in there, and then I'm also going to export, I'm going to export the MP3 now too. So I'm going to export and do MP3 at, not insane, I want to do this at 192. It looks like they've changed this, so it's between 170 and 210. Keep it at joint stereo. Let's leave that as the new setting and hit save. It says will be bounced down. I can skip the meta tags. And then again, I'm going to double check my files are in there. And then you can see there's still a temp file in here. We can save our project, so make sure you did a command save, and then quit your project. Double check it. So this is what it should look like. You should have the two exports, your .aup3. Make sure that you listen to your exports. Sometimes people upload something that's only 2 seconds long, so you definitely want to hit
AIG.
I'm going to hit spacebar here.
AIG, the greatest for the pursuit of hopes
and you can skip to the end to make sure it's exactly 30 seconds long. But you should definitely listen to the whole thing. I'll spare you right now. But definitely listen to both of them. Make sure there aren't any clips or pops or plosives in there. And then you're ready to wrap your project folder up and send it in Canvas. So to do that, you right click on a PC. On a Mac, you hold Control, you go to compress, and it created my little zip. And that is the entity right here that needs to be uploaded into Canvas. So I don't want to see multiple uploads. I've definitely seen scattered files and 3 different file types uploaded. I really want to see it all in a single zip in Canvas. And if you have any questions, message me there as well.
Have fun, and thanks for listening.